Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's nice to have you back as usual. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. You might hear thunder, you might hear rain, and you might hear wind during this video. I'm not sure. Up in my area, there's just been incredible windstorms going on. So behind this wall here is the outside of the house. So yikes, we'll see how things go. All right, this is going to be about Revised Standard Version, RSV. I know I've talked about this previously before. Briefly, I've talked about in a live stream that brother in Christ of mine, Scotty, does over there. We do a live stream every week. He's over at Grafted Branch Ministries. Check him out if you have an opportunity. But we're going to go a little bit deeper, but not as deep as I would like. You know, you have a lot of these channels that go an hour and a half, 2, 3 hours. I don't think there's a need to go that far in. So RSV, Revised Standard Version. Why is it worse than the KJV? About 100 reasons, but I can't list them all off. All right, what do we know about the RSV? RSV, Old Testament was finished in 1952. New Testament was 1946. In fact, the 1952 was actually the published date at that point. And this would be a 52 version right here, a little beat up. Got a 53 version over here, got a 71 over there. All right, where does it come from originally, RSV? It didn't just pop up out of nowhere. RSV is actually derived from the ASV 1901, which was from Westcott and Hort. Their ERV, the English Revised Version of 1881-1885. These gentlemen were of the devil. And a lot of your new versions come from that. We're going to talk about that down the road. The NASV, which was off the ASV, which was off of that. NASB, there's going to be a lot of videos talking about that in the future. The textual basis is the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. Now, interesting thing about that was created by a gentleman named Rudolf Kittel, son of Gerhard Kittel. Gerhard was a Nazi sympathizer. Along with his son, he defended his father's belief in that situation. I don't know about you, but just because my father was my father doesn't mean I'm not going to disagree if he's wrong. But apparently he must have thought he was right, so he's a Nazi sympathizer. So they used some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, pieces of Isaiah. The Septuagint, we'll talk about that down the road. The LX11, which is 70, even though there were 72 scholars, but somehow 70, they named it, I don't know. Weird why they did that. Vulgate influence, we know that. New Testament was based on the Novum Testamentum Graeci, which just means New Testament Greek. Interesting thing about this is who they're using for this. Now, they used their Greek, which is wrong Greek, and then Eberhard Nessels, out of Nessel and Allens, he came along and worked on using Tischendorf stuff, he was Catholic. Tischendorf was Catholic. He's the one over here with the Sinaiticus and stuff like that. I forgot the name. I forgot the actual name. BH12. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. He used the Westcott and Hort writings along with Richard Weymouth and Kurt Allen. Richard Weymouth, no one talks about. We'll talk about him in the future. Minor, major figure, depending how you look at him. It was published by the National Council of the Churches of Christ in the USA. Whew, that's a mouthful, isn't it? The largest ecumenical body in the United States. They were part of another organization, IRSC, I think something like that. Then they changed over, and then they moved on, and then you came down to when you had Nessels and Allens and Bruce Metzger and all of them on their Bible societies, Lockman foundations, and all those geniuses. Interesting thing. So I heard somebody once say, well, they found more verses, and that's why they had to update the King James. Think about that for a second. They found more verses. Oh, so then there would be more. Here's the problem. In the RSV, all the things you take out, Jesus. 53 times it removed the word Jesus. He's taken out 53 times. Lord is taken out 36 times. Christ, the word Christ, 32 times. God, 111 times. How do you take God out? Inspired by God. This is God. This is the Word of God. speaking of, Word of God was taken out 3 times. But how do you take out God? Salvation's taken out 33 times. Godhead, taken out 3 times. Interestingly enough, eliminated. Eliminated. Well, I guess you can't keep on preaching that Trinity that these guys have because of their Catholic background or the Catholic associations with the Lutherans and the Episcopals and all of that. Even the Anglican, we can go the Anglican Catholic organizations there. But think about that for a second. I wonder why you're all heck bent on Trinity and not Godhead. Well, if you remove it 3 times, I guess you don't have to teach about it. 16 verses in there are completely missing. I heard that it was more, but what I counted was 16 verses that are completely missing. Not just the ones that are altered or one word was different. 16 verses completely missing from the Bible. So if there was more verses found, you wouldn't have missing verses. Doesn't take an MIT student or a Harvard student or anybody from Yale. I'm on the East Coast, so I know those schools. Not that I went there. My goodness. Even if I was smart enough, I don't think I would go there. I think I'd be too smart enough not to go there. I don't know. 16 verses missing. Matthew. So, I'm just going to do 3 of them just to give you examples. So turn to your King James Bible, Matthew. Matthew chapter 18, is it? Yes, 18 verse 11. You know, a lot of people are going to do studies on this, and there are I think some other ones out there which I haven't watched, but I guarantee they're probably going to be long. Unless you're doing one of those quick fact videos that they exist, like 5 minutes, learn the Bible, 5 minutes, all that kind of silly things like that. Matthew, chapter 18, verse 11. Interesting how this works out, isn't it? I like these 3 verses. That's why I picked these as interesting ones to remove. All right. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. I guess they don't want that, do they? Because we need to concern ourselves with works. Because works salvation. That's a lot better than, and works will save you. And the Pope will save you. Let's not worry about this verse right here. That's not concern. The verse before, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. Why take that out? Why? It's not, no word I think in here means is less important, but why? Questions one has to ask themselves. All right, we're going to go to the next verses. Matthew chapter 23, verse 14. 23, verse 14. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Well, we don't want long prayers to receive damnation, so let's just take that out. And the second verse 15 already says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees. Take it easy. Let's not have 2 verses. I don't want to harp on this. We don't want to attack the Pharisees too much. Interestingly enough, I guess we can call these guys Pharisees, couldn't we? Why take that out? There's many reasons why I take those words out. They mean something. They have gravity. They have weight. Mark chapter 11, verse 26. Maybe this video will go a little bit quicker than I thought it would. I wanted to try to speed through, but you never know. 11:26, verse 26. But if ye do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. Well, we don't. Wow, that sounds negative. Let's just scratch that. We don't want something negative like that. We like the verse before it. And when ye stand praying, forgive if ye have aught against any, that your Father also, which is in heaven, may forgive your trespasses. There you go. That's positive. Let's just stay with the positive. Let's not throw that silly negative stuff in there. If you don't forgive your brethren, neither will your Father, which is in heaven, forgive your trespasses. We don't. No, we want the Father to forgive us for everything, no matter what, under any condition. It doesn't matter. Negativity. We don't want negativity. And that might turn people off. We don't want to turn people off. We have to sell Bibles. We got to sell books. We got to sell Bibles. We got to fill seats. We got to make money. We got to make bigger churches. These two gentlemen, which I already call Pharisees, Brooke Foss Westcott, was a Cambridge Platonist. He was in that crowd. Now, if you've seen some other videos, I'll probably make another one talking about this type of stuff, and I'll go into the Oxford movement and down the road. Got some videos lined up for that. Brooke Foss Westcott, Cambridge Platonist. What is a Platonist? Just to remind, or someone who hasn't watched this video, watched the other video, a Platonist is someone who is all on Plato. Just Plato's their life. They base a lot of things on Plato, which is a foundation of a lot of Roman Catholic Church work, with Augustine the Hippo and the rest. They admired Plato, they loved his stuff, and they worked with it. Reason, all about reason. And if you know anything, reason is terrible. It's all about what you can reason. Is it reasonable? Does it make sense? If it doesn't, we don't want it there. Let's just eliminate it out of the Bible. We don't like it if it doesn't work for us. Remember the age of reason. Remember the Enlightenment. Even the fake founding fathers. Not that they didn't exist. They existed, but boy, somebody's going to get mad at me. Fake? What do you mean fake? Ooh, there's a lot of stuff right there. You might want to look into a lot of that kind of stuff. With the Freemasonry and the Age of Enlightenment, even the Revolution in France, Thomas Paine, all of that stuff. It's a lot of stuff to go through. He was influenced by the Oxford movement of those before him who were in the Oxford movement. So they had a lot to do with that. He was rumored to have the occult. Now, this is hearsay from letters that do exist out there from his daughter, and I think another relative said that he would come out of the church area late at night. He would only go in there late at night, and he'd come out and he talked to the spirits and stuff like that, and he felt really good talking to the spirits and communing with God. Weird stuff there. Now let's go on to Fenton John Anthony Hort, of course. He was also Cambridge Platonist, also a Cambridge Apostles. Cambridge Apostles was a secret society group which were involved with Cambridge, I think King's College, there's one other college. I mean, not that much secret anymore because everybody knows. But secret societies back then were a big thing. You got Skull and Bones and down at Yale, and a lot of those things with George Bush, all the George Bushes, all of them. But that's important to know. There's some other things that I did not write up here because I couldn't completely guarantee it was true. It was more of, I couldn't find writings on some of the stuff that they were accused of. So if I can't find the writings, I'm not going to sit here and just say, well, I heard from someone. No, I want to see physical writings and documents, and that's how I present my studies. So I don't want anybody going, well, that's you heard from somebody. No, this is what I've read in documents by them. So now you see I have Alexandria Text, Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. Why do I have these things here? Because that is their go-to. That was their influence. They loved that stuff. That they considered this was it. This is the oldest text. Which, humorously enough, is not true because the old Syriac was way before the Textus Receptus, and even some papyrus that predates that, they threw out. Much like the NASV, there's like 500 manuscripts, Greek manuscripts and so forth out there, and there's only a couple of them that actually agree with them, but they went with the couple to fit their whole idea. And why do we have the Revised Standard Version? You may think it's an easy or a difficult explanation, but it's really not. The ERV failed. Just didn't catch on. People weren't buying in, even though most scholars loved them. A lot of highfalutin scholars in their areas and so forth loved them, thought they were great. And there were people like Dean Bergen and others that did not care for them at all. Said, no, you're changing stuff. Not happening. Not happening. So they couldn't quite get that whole King James, which is interesting because is it the the ASV? Never mind. I was going to say something about the ASV because the RSV once claimed they didn't want to supplant it, but it does say it in here. I just want to make sure. Revised Standard Version, translated from the original tongue. Remember, there's no people don't speak in tongues. Sorry, Pentecostals. It's multiple diverse tongues, but anyway, being the version set forth A.D. 1611. Really? Uh-huh. Revised, of course, you have to revise it. If it's so it's not really actually set forth by 1611 anymore. Revised by the AD 1881, 1885, and AD 1901. That was the ASV, which I have over there. Compared with the most ancient authorities and revised AD 1952. Compare with the most ancient. These predate that, but yet. Remember what we talked about the Alexandria text before. Alexandria text is from Egypt. And we know that the Bible has always talked about how excellent Egypt is. Nothing bad ever came out of Egypt. Never mind the Antioch strain, as apparently this is running out of ink. Let's toss that one over there. And I don't know where my other marker. I'm going to disappear for view. That's going to be fun. All right. Had to get the marker. All right, Antioch. So, Antioch. So we have those two streams. And we know the King James and the Genevas, they stayed in that lane right there. And then the Catholic Bibles and all the Deuteronomies, all that went down that whole, the NIV, NRSV, the NASB, the NAB, the, I can't even name all off, ASV. Believe it or not. People don't think that'd be true. Oh, no, these guys came up with the whole... No, they didn't. They didn't. They didn't revise. They changed. There's a difference between revising and completely changing something. If you have a car out in the driveway, you have, I don't know, a Nissan Sentra. I'm thinking of an old car. You have a Nissan Sentra, and you go to the dealership and like, I like the car. It's really good. But I want to revise it. So can I have that Ford Explorer? You didn't revise it. You completely changed it. Or you just gut the whole thing. I like the house. I like to revise it. Let's gut the whole thing. Well, you really just changed the whole thing. You gutted it. Which is what these guys did. They gutted a lot of things that they don't want in there. And the NASV, and that's going to be down the road too. That's another whole fiasco. But I always thought that was interesting. As I looked at this today, actually, I've had this planned for about a week. I have not been able to get down here. For like 5 days I've been trying to get this video out. And by the way, speaking of video, again, if you're watching this video, today, tune in tonight. What is it? I don't even know what today is. December 23rd, 2023. 22 rather. Tune in tonight's video, live stream. Gospel Hour. But yeah, papyrus that predates that, they don't want it. Occult, yeah. So God had 3 times it was eliminated. It was in the Bible 3 times. You eliminated Godhead. Why? To me, that one's an easy one because Trinity's been pushed since Tertullian. And even before that, I always get his name wrong, Theodolus or something, I can't remember his name. Theodopus, I don't know. But also the Trinity came from, again, the Plato, paganistic, and da-da-da. Why would you follow these devilish men? And why? Not always wonder, but sometimes I wonder, why do you not fact check your Bibles? You fact check your politicians, you fact check all of these things, but the most important thing that's ever going to be involved in your world is this Bible. But you don't fact check it. I don't care about Trump and Biden and all that nonsense. Fact check that all you want. They're all evil. So, now we know where the RSV comes from. And we can even talk about the NRSV. But really, when I do that video, you're going to see pretty much the same thing up here. Because the NRSV, let's write this down now. The NRSV, I'm not trying to talk down to you, is this. Which, by the way, is used in the Catholic Church. It's one of their favorite Bibles. And they approve this too. Just so you know, that's been approved. I find that, I don't find that interesting. It's pretty obvious why they're doing what they do. And this was just a start. When you start getting into the early 60s, I think the NASV was 63 originally, and then went through some more changes at 70. Stuff they took out, they put back in, which is interesting. Why would you put them back in? Because they're liars and they're devils? There's no other explanation. Sorry. Well, they went back and they realized that Greek was actually predating that Greek. Don't get mixed up in these Greek and Hebrew geniuses. That is always to throw you off because, well, I don't know Hebrew and Greek. And they never mentioned Aramaic, by the way. I don't know. I mean, they went to seminary or theology school, and they got degrees, and they clearly know more than me. I mean, I thought I knew what it meant by Jesus shed his blood for me, but man, I didn't know the Hebrew word for it and the Greek. That's what happens. You think that these gentlemen are helping you, but they're really talking down to you. They mock you and they laugh at you. They think you're pathetic and you're sad. And that you can't read the Bible for yourself. You cannot pick up the King James and read for yourself. They have convinced you that you need them. You don't need them. You don't need me. You need the King James Bible. The other day I was listening to a Baptist guy on the internet. Came across this guy. And he talked about how King James, that's it. King James, that's the best. I'm like, okay, I'm with you. Then he said, but these King James onlyists. Like, wait a minute. All right, if you just said King James is the best, and oh, by the way, that's the only Bible he used, wouldn't that make you a King James onlyist? Or are you a liar? Interesting, isn't it? And don't get all wrapped up in the original Greek conversation. We have the words right here. They are preserved. Unless God's a liar, and if you think that, you've got some serious issues. I don't want to be at that judgment seat with you. Yikes, you're on your own. Revised Standard, 1952, original, 1946. Comes from the ASV, which comes from the ERV, which is the Westcott and Hort. Look these gentlemen up. There's plenty of information out there on these guys. They are bad news. Bad news. And how they even Philip Schaff and all those guys. It really just bad news. These guys are terrible. Terrible, terrible. And then you get mixed up with the Rudolf Kittel. His father's a Nazi sympathizer. Well, I mean, we're not going to hold the son accountable for the father's sins. I would normally agree with you. But for the fact that he actually defended his belief and backing of the Nazis, and it wasn't he was a supporter in 1929. He was a supporter in the 1940s. So no excuse. Not at all. So he's, for me, disqualified. Disqualified. And he also wrote the Quintana Hebraicus Tenzia. He did that one too. Same thing. I think it was a series of 3 or a series of 4. I apologize for not remembering. And I love how we put this in Novum. Just can't say New Testament Greek. They always have to make it sound like they're smarter. That they're so much more intelligent. There are godly men that I knew when I was younger. There's a couple of men that I do remember. And there are godly men throughout time who did not have degrees in theology, religion, philosophy, the Trinity of Satan, and they knew more about the Bible than those gentlemen did. So that is my video tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do not forget to check out Old Time Gospel Hour with Stephen Scotty. We do our best to bring information. We're going to be talking about the birth of Jesus, the real birth of Jesus, and we might cover a couple of current events. A lot of stuff are coming up. I'll be putting on a lot of things. We've got Oxford movement coming up in the future. We're going to talk about that. Other Bible versions, we're going to talk about that. Some Vatican conversations that have recently happened, which I shouldn't say it cracks me up, but how did you not see it coming? So division there. Bunch of devils. All right, thank you very much for tuning in as always. And as always, have a beautiful evening.